Hi, Mikko. Thank you so much for helping my project. Could you say a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, hey Nathan, it's great to be here. Uh, I'm from Finland, and I do actually have a YouTube channel with some of my friends, Total Space. Uh, it's been a while since I've made my last video, but still I'm quite active on Twitter and in the YouTube Space community.
Um, so is your YouTube channel about space?
Yes,
And is it in Finnish?
no, in English.
In English. Okay. I've been kind of interested in how people are sort of um, making content for their local communities,
Mhm.
so that we kind of include more people. So I thought this might be an opportunity for that. So.
I mean, I've thought about it. I'm not sure how big the audience would be. Finland is a pretty small country. There's about 5.5 million people here.
Yeah, I don't know the population of New Zealand, but if there's like a Peter Beck or Elon Musk or a Jeff
Mhm.
Bezos in Finland just waiting to be inspired, it would make it all worth it.
Yeah, I mean, could be worth trying.
Um, so let's see, you've come down to Starbase, and you saw that. What was that like?
Oh, it was awesome. In April, first I went to Florida. There I saw my first launch ever. That was just a regular Falcon 9, but it was a night launch, so it lit up the sky, and I was able to see how fast it actually accelerated. It was very nice to see that. And then I was traveling with a friend from Australia, and I think it was around 18th of April when we got to Starbase. We basically had just 19th and 20th. We were there around the right time. So if the launch would happen, we could see it. So it was really lucky. Yeah. We saw so many people from the space community there. Everyone around the world had come there to see the launch. So it was really nice to see other people there, just hang out and have a party. And it was around 5 a.m. when we drove to the beach. There was I think it was it maybe South Padre Island. There was a beach where most of the people would go. Also the SpaceX people were there. So it was a really nice place to watch it. I think we spent around 4 hours there with a couple of friends, just chatting, seeing the atmosphere. There were all the time until around 9 when it launched. Cars were coming all the time. So it must have been 10, 20,000 people there. So it was really great. And when we saw when we were watching the live stream during the launch, we thought now would be the time, but when there was the delay, it was kind of like, is it going today or not? Yeah. And while we were watching the live stream, we couldn't really know when it's going to launch because there was the delay. So then we just saw, and everyone started shouting. There was the ignition, and first we thought, is it going to explode, because it was going up so slow. We just didn't see it go on top of the smoke cloud. Yeah, when it went up, everyone started shouting, cheering. Yeah, it was a really nice day. At first, it seemed like we may not even see most of the launch, but I actually ended up seeing it from ignition to the explosion. And you could also see every time an engine went out or there was some error going, or the hydraulics going on, you could see the flash on the flames. So everything was visible, and when the sound came, that was just massive. Yeah, you could just feel it like if you've been in some concert on the front row, the bass is going full blast. It was pretty much like that. And meeting people after that, many people were asking, sorry, what did you say? Because many people probably, didn't lose their hearing, but it was a bit deafening for sure. Yeah, great
It took some
experience.
time to recover.
Yeah.
It took some time.
Yeah, awesome day.
Do you think you'll get a chance to fly on a Starship in your lifetime?
Yeah, I do think it would be possible, and I do want to go to space, and that would probably be the cheapest way. I'm thinking if they do the Earth-to-Earth transfers, that would be the cheapest way to get into space. And well, Earth-to-Earth transport, it may or may not happen, but I'm sure regular space flights will be available in my lifetime. And I do hope, I'm not sure about Mars, but having a, let's say, a week-long holiday on the moon would be pretty great. And I could see it happening in, let's say, 20, 30 years.
It'd be really exciting. I hope the pricing turns out well. I had heard Gwen Shotwell talk about how the point-to-point Earth travel for an equivalent first-class airline ticket price, they think they could be profitable. That doesn't mean they'll price it at that. It might be like the Blue Origin thing where the first flights are like in the millions, even though they plan to
probably
charge a lot less. Yeah.
But yeah, let's say even if it's like 10, 15,000, that would still be very cheap.
I know. Could you imagine flying from Finland to Houston in 30 minutes?
That would be great. It was quite a long trip from Helsinki to Orlando. I think it was around somewhere between 14 and 18 hours but there was like 2 layovers.
Okay.
So it took a while. I flew to, I think it was Munich airport, and then New York, and finally Orlando. So there were no straight flights.
The layovers really slow you down, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that added about 5 hours at least, and the flight over the ocean was around 9 hours.
Yeah, it's going to be transformational. People jetting all around the world, and hopefully they figure out the carbon capture method. That I know they want to harvest carbon dioxide on Mars and turn it into methane, and then if they're able to use the same system here on Earth, maybe the entire system could be carbon neutral.
Oh yeah, definitely, and I think they even have. No, not sure if SpaceX has any carbon collection right now, but there's quite a few companies doing it already on Earth. So as long as they scale up fast enough, it should be viable to do.
Yeah, I mean, because they'll have a high concentration of carbon dioxide around the launch pad at launch time. Seems like seems like if they could just start like increasing the percentage of capture of that could be significant.
Yeah, that would be great. I'm thinking that there was some well, wait. I was thinking about the Mars Perseverance rover. It has the oxygen experiment, but no methane experiment yet.
That's true. The Moxie.
Yeah.
But I wonder how the Moxie works. Is it using the same process of taking carbon dioxide, mixing with hydrogen, creating methane and water, and then using electrolysis to break the water into hydrogen and oxygen? I don't know, but
Well, I mean, it's taking it from the air, so I think so. I mean, it's been a while since I've read about it, but yeah, it's taking it from the air, and I think it's separating it from the CO2. So yeah, should be doable.
So I guess, when did you figure out or learn that we were planning to go back to the moon for real?
I mean, it must have been around the time when Jim Bridenstine announced it. I mean, of course, I had heard before that Elon talking about going to Mars, but not really moon. So yeah, I would say when Jim Bridenstine announced it. For me, I really got into the space flight in 2019. I mean, before that, I followed a lot of space-related topics, but I remember seeing the SpaceX Demo 1 launch on YouTube, and they were talking about the possibility of crewed flight, and when I saw the rocket fly, and when they were starting to talk about it landing, that was the time when I was like, are they really landing the rockets these days? So when I saw the landing, I haven't missed an launch since. So I watched all the SpaceX launches after that.
This project actually started in 2019 as well. In December of 2019, when they had Artemis Day, and Doug Laverio had like his little lapel pin that he was counting down the days to the end of 2024. So that was true too. Well, I mean, what do you think about us going back to the moon? Do you think it's the right step, or we should have skipped the moon and gone to Mars, or what are your thoughts?
I think it's the right step. SpaceX does have quite a lot of things to figure out before actually going to Mars. So I do think it's, easier to try out the landings closer. I mean, Mars is totally different for sure, but yeah, I think it's the right thing. And many people talk about it costing a lot of money. That's just nonsense. If you compare it to military budgets, for example, it's cheap compared to that.
Absolutely. I mean, I think NASA gets something like, it's like, I think like the NASA budget is about 25 billion. And then I think we spend close to what, 800 billion on the military, maybe more. So,
Something like that. I think it was around, so 1 year's military budget is around the same as the whole NASA budget has been.
Like cumulatively.
Yes.
Like since its inception. Like you could have chosen to fund NASA for 60 years or pay for the military for 1 year.
Yeah. I read it probably was a year or two ago, but still it's around the same. Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
That is pretty intense. Well, whenever you think about the future of humanity, what does it look like to you, say 200 years from now?
Right, 200 years. I mean, I hope we haven't destroyed ourselves with wars and differences. If we just get along, I'm sure we'll be able to colonize most of our solar system. Of course, starting with Mars, then something on the clouds of Venus. 200 years may not be enough for going or colonizing the moons of Saturn, but I'm sure in 200 years it would be possible that someone had been to one of the moons. For example, well, Titan would be a fun one, for example.
But you think we have people living on these places, like having families and just going about their lives, or it's just like scientific research outposts?
I would think there would be a small city in Mars. Other than that, it might just be small outposts. Venus would, of course, be pretty close. So if they can figure out some living space on the clouds, that could happen. But there's not many views, so I'm not sure how many people would actually want to live there.
Of course, if we could like figure out how to create wormholes and transport matter vast distances and take a little bit of the Venus atmosphere and put it on Mars and maybe equal the two planets out, that would be amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And in 200 years, I would be sure that there's some space stations people could live. No, not sure about the O'Neill cylinders. They are quite massive, so that might be a bit of a too big project to build within 200 years, but a smaller space station for sure. And around Earth, around the moon, maybe around L1, L2 points. And also, I would think some people would be in some sort of outposts in the asteroid belt.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Well, you mentioned you would take a week-long trip to the moon and back, and would you go further? Would you consider yourself maybe being a colonist at a future Mars base, or what do you think there?
Well, I would have to go to the moon before actually deciding, but I would definitely want to go to Mars. But yeah, there would definitely have to be a bit shorter transit times. So let's say 3 months to Mars, that would be quite nice already. But if it takes 9 months, that's a long one.
That's a long one. You need a much bigger ship for that. It needs to be like a huge cruise ship with like all these activities and places to roam.
But yeah, I mean, even if it was like a 2-year stint, it would interest me for sure. It would probably feel like going to the army, because we do have a conscription in Finland, and I was 1 year in the army. So could be a bit of similar experience.
So I'm not familiar with that in Finland. Does everybody serve 1 year?
It's 6 months, 9 months, or a year. That's for men only. I mean, the conscription is for men only. Women can also join the army. It's voluntary for them. Around 70% of the men do go there. There's also 1 year of civil service as an option to the army. But yeah, we do have Russia next to us, so we never got rid of the conscription.
And now you're part of NATO, so it's even, you know, there's more mutual dependence between Finland and the rest of Europe.
Yeah, absolutely. And the moment we announced joining NATO, it has felt a bit safer here.
That's good. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy to think that this is 2023 and we still have one country invading another.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, if you would ask Finnish people, it wasn't that big of a surprise that Russia attacked. But still, most people were surprised.
Yeah, it all seems theoretical until it happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hopefully it will be over soon.
Hopefully in a good way.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully everyone is still here after that.
Indeed. Well, Mikko, those were the questions I had. Was there anything that you wanted to talk about that we didn't get to?
No, I think that's about it.
But I really appreciate your time today. And if you know anybody else that would be willing to have a conversation about the moon, I hope you send them to me. I have more than 500 more days to go.
Yeah, that's quite a few days. I'll try and see. I do have quite a few friends in the space community, so I will try and ask around if they would be willing.
Well, I appreciate that, Mikko. Well, I better let you go, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.
All right, thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.